Hey there. I was going to make a video yesterday, but I felt glonky. And glonky is just when I feel like, I don't know, not doing the things that I had planned, not really any energy, just kind of glonky. Not bad, just glonky. So I respected the glonky and I didn't make a video, but now I am making a video. So here I am high. Here I am high. Here I am high. And that's interesting because today I'm going to talk about being yoga high, yoga stoned, runner's high, endorphins, yendorphins, chemical cocktails in the brain. And I think we all have heard of runner's high. Like, whether or not you're a runner. I am not a runner. You cannot convince me to run. There will be no running. My parents were always runners, and they were always like, you should run. You can eat whatever you want and just run. I'm like, but I hate running. It hurts me. And I would get immediate cramps in my hip flexors at PE, and really not for me. So, but I have had endorphins and other things. And so I think we have all had the experience. Spicy food, endorphins. Makes you sweat, makes your heart feels good. Makes me want to eat spicy ramen right now at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll refrain. But today's episode 2, is called Yoga High and Awakening, Life Force Energy, or a Chemical Cocktail in the Brain. And can it be both? So, the first time I ever heard, actually somebody used the term chemical cocktail is this guy, Dan Coe, and he's a YouTuber, and he talks about mindset and how to become a better version of yourself, but more in business, yourself in general, but using your business as a way to live a good life, not to have a good business. And so I'm really inspired by a lot of the things that he says. He definitely talks to you in a way that's you're the one who needs to wake up. And if you're not doing this, then you should do this. For why is that working for me? I don't know. That's something else. But the information is there. It's totally there. The tone is very mansplain. And so I don't want this to oh God, I don't want this to come across as mansplaining, but I do think that anyone can mansplain. I have surely mansplained. I probably do it all the time. And that just means, so we'll change it to just splaining all over somebody. I mean, they're going to splain it to you because you don't know. It's not like that. I just think this is really interesting. And there are definitely yoga styles and practices out there that claim that you're gonna get to a yoga high and not roll back down the mountain. You'll still cool down and come down, but the high stays forever. And it's if you do the practices, if you keep up with it, what I was talking about in the last episode with the bell curve, and you come down, literally you go up and you come down and it feels really good. But then there's also a come down. You will feel bad feelings again. You will not stay on this ethereal endorphin, just like endorphins. If runners got that high from one run, they would not need to really go running again because it would just stay with them. And so there's this new age idea of awakening, and it's a hot topic. Awakening, ascending, transcending, alchemizing. And it's yeah, totally. I think we can totally move into different dimensions of our life that are a little more harmonious and feel a little more connected than other parts. But this idea of you're going to find this one practice and you're going to be able to do it forever, and it's always going to get you to a certain place to where you're not going to be an asshole. And thank God, because sometimes you feel like such an asshole. You're still going to be that. I still am that. And it comes out all the time. Just like all the time, I catch myself being very pretentious and very, not on purpose, just very like high horse. And on that high horse, it's usually not that I'm like wanting to talk down to the actual person in front of me that's saying the thing, but it's like they're representing a version of myself that used to think a thing that I feel like I have evolved from. And that puts me on a very high horse and can even make me really mad. And at the moment, I don't know, I just get mad. But I see that in myself. I see that in other yoga teachers and just like people who hold a container, hold space. And so that can be like school teachers, other fitness coaches, just you run a show, you do a thing. And because we have to put on this like, I've got you, I'm running the show, I'm doing the thing, you're safe to like go do that crazy exercise over there, and like I'll just keep check on you and you're good. Like it's a lot, and it's hard to take that off. And it's also hard to remember sometimes that it is something that we can take off and that we should take off every once in a while for our own health and to be in a container and to be part of that. So like teachers going to classes instead of always being a teacher, or like retreat leaders and just like, going to a retreat, talking to myself, retreating, and whatever that means. It doesn't mean you have to go, if you're a yoga retreater or a yoga retreat teacher, that doesn't mean you have to go on yoga retreats. Sometimes that can feel like work, but to retreat yourself and to know what that means for you to retreat. That's not like the classic example of a retreat. And it looks different for everybody. So an example of me being on that high horse recently that really is like something I'm grappling with and I'm just, trying to understand is I was at dinner and I had just taught a class and a couple, my friend and her friend, and we just decided to go out to dinner. And so we're out at dinner and we're just having girl talk. It was fun talking about the food and like what we did in high school and what we're doing, just chatty. And it was nice. And then one of the girls brought up how she used to be a cheerleader and how she felt like she had gained weight since then because she used to exercise all the time. And then she looks at me and she says, that's how you're in such great shape because it's literally your job to exercise. That's so cool. And she was saying it in a really supportive way. She was like serious, and it really did come across like that. And that's why I'm saying I didn't mean to. I felt like in my head I jumped on a high horse, and I was like, well, actually, yoga is not a workout. It's a work in, and it's all about like my inner spiritual relationship with myself. And I don't even need to exercise because my life force energy, girl, like, I don't know. But on that, I didn't say that. On that, I said, yeah. And it was like this whole existential crisis that happened in one moment of me recognizing, okay, yeah, at some point I may have thought that being a yoga teacher, like an aspect of it would be great because I would be exercising all the time and not sitting in a chair at a desk, and therefore would be physique checked. Like I wouldn't have to worry about, okay, I just sat for 8 hours, so I need to go to the gym and like exercise this off, which was definitely a mindset that I held, like I'm doing this out of punishment or I'm doing this out of like necessity or obligation rather than something that feels fun or just like, and some people definitely do that. They go to exercise to clear their head. I just didn't have that relationship with it at the time. Nor do I really now, which is really interesting. So anyway, I got really perturbed at this and whatever. I said, haha, yeah. But I didn't, it's like, I get caught up in this weird place of like, okay, I was your yoga teacher over there. I just taught you asana in the park, and we went through the shapes and we talked about the breathing and the importance of like our mind-body connection and like all of the stuff that I say and mean. but try to say in a language that is applicable for a lot of people at one time, and to break out in a song and dance about how this is not exercise in a way that we're beating our bodies up, but in a way that we're celebrating them, sometimes is totally there and the right thing to do. And sometimes it's like, we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it. We just need to do it. And I really feel confident in my teaching that, like, I'm not talking about it, I'm doing it. Like, no, we're celebrating, we're throwing our arms up, we're clapping, we're, doing these like, it's a celebration of the body. And I say that regularly. We're celebrating our breath and we're being present in this moment because it's a fun place to be. And yeah, it's there. But then when it's time at dinner for me to like talk about it with words, it's not there. There's no song and dance. There's no, oh my gosh, because it's like, it almost seems like if I were to tell her that, that would be a weird slap in the face, because it's coming from that like high horse place of like, I know this thing that you don't know. And maybe I do know this thing that she doesn't know. And what if it's my job to tell her? Job, work, words. That's not my job. That's not my work. It's to celebrate my own body, celebrate other people's bodies and their thoughts and opinions and how that they can change. And just because I didn't have the words then, that's okay. I don't need to be so hard on myself about that either. But if I have the words now, am I supposed to say them? I think yes. I've heard a lot of yoga teachers tell me, like, I've got the asana, I've got the flow, I've got the breathing. What is Dharma talk? What am I supposed to be like? How do I encourage people other than like stretch a little further? Like, that's encouraging. Or like, yeah, guys, you've got it. Your legs are so strong and you're standing on one foot. Like, that's definitely encouraging. But how do I go beyond that? Like, it sounds stupid. Words, spells. My gosh, this was a tangent that's going to come up at some point. But how can I give them a little more? That's not just reading a quote at the end of class, because that's great too. But it does sound a little silly to say like, oh, this strength that you feel in your leg, harness that the next time you're feeling weak at your job. Like, yeah, that's the general idea, but is that really what we're saying? And is that really what? Yes. And so, to bring it all back around, what's going on? What is going on? Is this exercise? What is this? So back to like a yoga high. I talked in my last episode about how the bell curve, the life cycle, the mountain that you climb, the birthing and the rising and the and then the death, like, feels genuinely good in the body, but I didn't talk anything about what's going on in the brain, like chemically. And that's because I don't really know. But I have studied a lot, and there's a lot of really good guesses out there. A lot of really good guesses. And they're all spoken in different languages. I'm going to keep speaking English for the most part. But life force energy, circulation of energy, different kinds of energies, brain chemicals, neurotransmitters, gut bacteria, the gut biome, the vagus nerve, vagal toning. I mean, like, is it saying the same thing in different words? Genuinely, maybe. Does it seem like we have a lot more words for things that could be a little bit more simple? Yes. But here we go. Let's talk about all the words. So I'll go over to the brain a little bit more tangible, physical, less woo-woo side of things. And Okay, so endorphins. We've already talked about that. Endorphins, your runner's high. You get that after you do like sustained physical stress. And that's why it's not just physical activity necessarily. Like, you don't have to be running. You can get it from the spicy food, which is giving you stress in a way that's like just enough to let you hit that flow state of stress. There's like that graph of flow state where to get into flow state, you need just enough stress and also just enough comfort. And that sweet spot puts you in a place where you can flow. And that's what's up with yoga. We're getting into that sweet spot, a flow state. But like, what is that? And how do you find that sweet spot so that you can not overstress yourself and tax yourself, but to like get the endorphins? And so that's for yourself to figure out. I don't know if you can have too many endorphins. I don't know if you can like override that, but you can definitely do that thing where you're like, well, if I ran for 1 hour and I felt this good, if I run for 3 hours, I'll feel this good. And the same thing with yoga. It's like not too many cooks in the kitchen, but you just like your first piece of pizza is really good. Your second piece of pizza is good. It's good. Your third piece of pizza, still good. Fourth, it's good, but you're questioning yourself. And then the fifth piece of pizza, you're like, I might be a little ill. I might not feel very good tomorrow or tonight. So it's like, there's definitely that sweet spot, and we can find that in yoga and everything. And I love how that mirrors on the mat and off the mat. Anyways, don't, unless you want to, run for 3 hours. I cannot imagine. Yeah, I watched Cody's brother do, that's a tangent. I watched somebody do an Ironman one time, or I thought about Ironman one time. It's crazy. Okay, so we have endorphins. We're talking neurotransmitters. We're talking about connections in the brain and in the body. We also have serotonin. So serotonin is produced in exercise, but it's not produced while you're doing the exercise. It's after. So it's like kind of like the low and underlying thing, like not a quick fix, but over time, sustained. So if you exercise in a sustained way, like every Thursday for a month, that serotonin will naturally stabilize, from what I understand. And then endorphins are more like, no, you get them, and then afterwards you're like, yes, I feel so good. And that's like really fun too. So both of them, they hold hands. They all hold hands. And serotonin you also get from like natural sunlight and like water and rain and stuff like that. So that's a really good one. We also have dopamine. Yeah. So I could talk forever about dopamine. It will probably get its own episode. But dopamine is our reward situation. It's like, oh, I got 4 likes in 4 seconds on my Instagram post. Dopamine. And we mix it up these days with like feeling love, which is where a lot of stuff gets really confusing because it's a little heart and you're like, love. It's dopamine, and that you can overdo the dopamine, and that's like if you've been scrolling so long that you feel physically ill, like actually sick, too much dopamine. You can actually have dopamine. You can be understimulated, which is like people with ADHD who take stimulants. It's like that. Like you have to reach a certain level, that like that flow state thing, to get the dopamine. It has to be stimulated enough to feel alive, but not over. And so that's why people need different things. So some people can drink coffee, some people can scroll for longer, just some, more sensitive to others. And that's really interesting to notice. And I think also it changes over time. So not to stick yourself in a box of this is who I am, this is my dopamine situation. It can change. And to like bump back to Dan Coe, he was saying that if you feel like you've kind of screwed up your dopamine situation, you can always bring it back. Same thing with serotonin, that you can always move back into a healthier place, which we won't get into like how that is a little what's the word? I want to say like ableistic, allistic. I don't. Seems kind of pretentious, I guess is a word. Like, but I just love the optimism and I love the faith. Like, no, we're from wherever you are. You're stuck in a box. You're almost dying. You can bring it back. And we'll talk about like little you and big you later. But I think that's really interesting. So if I've fried my brain onto TikTok, I can bring it back. And that doesn't mean quitting TikTok altogether. It just means being able to get my kicks from something else. I can do it. I have the power. So it's pretty cool. Dopamine, reward, a lot that goes into that. Also very interesting. We obviously get dopamine from our phones, but it can also just be from like bright colors in general. So remembering that if you feel kind of low and your usual turn to is like to scroll on Instagram, that there are other ways to get it that might be a little bit more sustainable. And then you can go scroll on Instagram and it won't give you this like wave of crackety crack. It'll be a little less, and so it won't be as addicting. Yeah. Pretty cool. And last but not least, and not even last, there's more. We won't talk about them, but oxytocin. Oxytocin is the love one. It's the love one. And these days it's the trickiest. And for myself, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but for myself, I have found that if I am either too high on dopamine or too low or just not feeling whatever, that oxytocin is like the antidote. And we get oxytocin through a lot of things. Connection, genuine connection. Not like this, unfortunately. Maybe a little bit like this, but the screen thing has something to do with it. But like animals, like petting, brushing an animal, stuffed animals also work. Eye contact. But again, the screen thing, there's something about that they say. But even stuffed animal eyes work. Barbie eyes work. Maybe not as good. But I think that's interesting too to talk about is like sometimes we can't make eye contact for whatever reason. That might be neurodivergence. That might be like just where you are that day. Or maybe that person's holding something that you don't. Moth. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. I let myself go with that because sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So eye contact is hugging. But again, sometimes you don't want to go give somebody a hug or you don't have anybody in your life that's huggable or you're home alone. Self-hugging works. You can actually give yourself like a squeeze and push yourself up against the wall, close your eyes and take deep breaths and your body and mind will like feel a simulated hug. So interesting. Doesn't need to be a real person. Can be. Also, that's what I think about the labubu. I will not get into that right now, but I think the labubu craze is more than just consumerism. It's like in like the Disney community and like theme park stuff, it's totally acceptable to carry around a stuffed animal like a plushie or like have a cute bag charm or like literally like strap your plushie to your bag and carry it around with you because those places are really overstimulating and they can be really dopamine saturated. And so holding the animal, this is like for full-on adults, but also good for kids too. Holding the animal and looking at the animal and protecting the animal in a way, like looking at it as like, no, I have a thing that I'm like responsible for. Like kicks in this sense of oxytocin and love and connection and belonging. So the labubu is that, and people finally have an excuse to bring their plushie out into the real world. And yes, people are making fun of them. I think that's really interesting too. Dogging the consumerism, which I get, and the materialism. But this is a little different than your average, I'm going to get the brand newest iPhone. I think. I hope. It seems like a good direction. That's all I got to say. People carrying around little monster stuffed animals. How is that bad? How is that bad? Gah. Huh. Anyways. Now, the last thing bodily, physical wise, I want to talk about is the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is a nerve that connects to all of your other nerves. It's like the big one, the big nerve. And it regulates a lot of things. Parasympathetic, sympathetic, that's like your fight, flight, freeze, or your rest and digest. It gets you from one to the other. It's like a big deal. It's kind of housed around the spine, and so like kind of up in the back of the neck where the head and the spine connect together and your back and head connect together. It's all up in there. And the hot topic right now is like regulating your nervous system. That's through the vagus nerve. Or healing your trauma via somatic movements. Pretty sure that has to do with the vagus nerve. And there's a lot. That stuff is great. Glad it exists. I think talk therapy is one way. I think verbal processing is wonderful. I don't know. So, yeah, yoga stimulates the vagus nerve. Running doesn't. That's so interesting to me. Running does not really stimulate the vagus nerve. And if you know that it does and you know why and all of the stuff, please post it. Tell me. Oh my gosh, please tell me. Because from what I understand, the vagus nerve is mostly stimulated through like movements of the spine. It's like getting fresh spinal fluid to your body, which helps your organs and helps like your function of your muscles and your joints and synovial fluid and like all this stuff, which then helps your magnetic field, your biofield, your aura. And that's both woo-woo and not. Like we have a measurable biofield, and then we also have our turquoise aura. Whatever. So interesting, right? And we have our sun salute that like stimulates the vagus nerve by the up and down of the head. Running is straightforward. I mean, maybe you like look down naturally to like make sure you're not going to trip on something, or maybe you like look up at the sky every once in a while, or maybe there's a car. And so I think that's part of it, but like just running straight forward, like running on a treadmill, I don't know. Does it give you the endorphins? Yes, I definitely believe so. Yes. For sure. So interesting. Biofield, aura, chemicals in the brain, chemicals in the body, verbal processing. Oh, that's another thing, is the vagus nerve is very stimulated by like vibration. So a lot of like tapping, humming, chanting, singing. That's where we get like all the chanting in yoga, is it's like tonifying the vagus nerve, which sends vibrations to the rest of the body. Helps us to expel and express, because if we that's another way that we like eliminate toxins, is through like expelling and expressing. And that's not necessarily words like talking shit or like gossiping. It's more like primal rage screaming, or like sacred crying, or like it's a verbal, it's an outward expression. It's a communication of an inside to an outside and an outside to an inside. And I feel like that's left out a lot. We do it in yoga, we'll bang on our chest, we'll scream, we'll do all this stuff, and it's looked at as like really woo-woo and kind of weird. But I really do feel like that is becoming more acceptable as we learn about somatic healing and somatic therapies and using the body as a tool for healing and transformation, rather than only going through the mind, or, you know. So, to bring it all the way back around again, it's just gotta, is me at dinner with this girl, with these girls, with my debacle of, am I a yoga teacher? Did the mask fall off? Am I over here? I'm having a cocktail. Am I still allowed to say these things? Yes. Yes, absolutely. There's that whole, should you be hanging out with your students after you teach them a class? If you wanna, if they're, maybe not all of them, maybe not certain ones who put you in a certain place or you put them in a certain place, but if you feel, and just to also say too, that the women that I was at dinner with were like, not just like girly girls. It's like, these are like leaders on teams in businesses and like working in finance and like big construction projects and like project management, and like they're the top of where they are. And so for me to be able to like be vulnerable and be honest and be like, well, I'm kind of at the top of where I am, and not to use that as a high horse thing, but I've been practicing and doing this for a really long time. So letting myself be in a place of like not above, but like just here is really powerful. And again, could I do that then? No, I ha-ha-yad. But now I realize I'm so thankful that I could shift, and that, yoga helped me, but I shift my black and white box thinking of, I have to exercise this much to have this comfortable body, to just really digging in and diving deep and understanding not just about my body, about how a lot of bodies work and what we've learned over time through living in them, with them, as them, and taking like what resonated with me and being like, oh no, that's actually, don't do all of this to lose weight or to be skinny, even though I am skinny, recognize, heard. But I definitely have had my struggles with that. And now I can sit literally in a place with a microphone and like chat about that and let others know that if they're also feeling this weird pull of feeling like you need to preach to people to get your point across, you don't. Having an open conversation about stuff that you're dealing with is something to be celebrated, and it's not all love and light. It's not all ascending to a higher place and staying there and always having the answers. And I mean, I had the answers, I just didn't have the correct tone. And I'm thankful for the space that I was able to like listen to the tone inside my head and be like, is that how you're really going to try and talk to her right now? Or just try and talk in general? It's actually a work in, and it's spiritual. Exercise is not, yes, it is. Yeah, I've thrown up from CrossFit workouts and been like, spiritual. Why am I here doing this? Why am I doing this to my body right now? Why is my body rejecting this? Spiritual. Or same thing like in the club. I drank too much. I danced too much. And now I'm throwing up in the bathroom. Spiritual. So thank you to that time and space and dinner situation that brought that out in me, and that sparks this conversation right here, right now. Thank you for listening to me spiel about this conversation, about this topic, whatever, because I feel passionate about it. And again, not something that we get to go over in like a normal yoga class, or even it's not even something for, it's like something for teachers and teachers to discuss, and then bring that when it's time to the students of like, oh yeah, no, at dinner we had this great conversation about how like I was so thankful when I was able to switch my mindset from like, I need to exercise all the time to get this body to like, wow, look at this body. Look at how it works. Look at what it does when I do this. Look how fun it is to do this. Oh, I bought myself a trampoline and now I can learn backflips and that makes me naturally like toned and awesome. And also I can do backflips. Like, whew, that's cool. We can get there. We're there. So I encourage you to 1, check in with the inner dialogue and see if it lines up. Does the tone inside match what you want to say outside? Do the words inside match the words outside? Do you want to say all of this but still have only a haha yeah? Notice. And 2, if you do feel that, can you feel confident enough to maybe like write some stuff down about it, formulate an opinion? Why did this trigger me so much and how can I use it later? Because I know that it's like a big part of me and who I am. Because I care. Or else I wouldn't be doing this at all. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't care. I hope. And then 3, after the self-study and the like, little bit of like zhuzh to make it something that feels aligned, then do you have the courage to then bring it out in a place and time that feels safe for you? And also just like the right place and time. Maybe it's sitting with a camera like this, talking to the void, talking to a wall. Maybe it's like, actually, no, I'm going to go back to that person and I'm going to be like, hey, this one time you said this thing and I just have to say this to you. Or maybe, I don't know, there's like infinite. Or maybe you use that as a teaching point in your class. Or maybe the next time you and that girl hang out together, it comes up again because of that's what stuff like that does. And you can be like, hey, or whatever. Thank you for joining me on episode 3 of Multidimensional Being. I'm just kidding. I'll cut that out. Thank you for joining me on episode 2 of Multidimensional Being. Yoga High and Awakening. Is it just a chemical cocktail? Or is it our life force energy? Thanks. Signing off. Multidimensional being. I don't know. Bye.